As Canada prepares to mark its 150th anniversary, we've been traveling coast to coast, speaking with people that make up the fabric of this country. I recently traveled to Halifax, where I sat down with two former residents of Africville. For 150 years, the primarily black community sat on the shores of the Bedford Basin. In the 1960s, Halifax City Council voted to remove the buildings in Africville and began expropriating the land and bulldozing homes. 7 years ago, Halifax Mayor formally apologized for the destruction of the community. We went to the Africville Museum to meet with Brenda Steed Ross and Irvin Carvery to hear their stories and their thoughts about where things stand today.
Whenever you set foot on this ground, you're home, right? And it's important because when we lived here as a community, we were an isolated community here. But when we left the confines of Africville, when we ventured up over the hill, you know, we were faced with a racist society. Did not make you feel welcomed or at home. But once you crossed over into Africville, like that feeling just left you and you felt very, very safe. So every time we return here, that, you know, you get those feelings from those memories.
Tell me about those memories. Brenda, we'll start with you. What was it like living here?
It was, well, as a child, all of Africville was a playground to children. You know, we could go swimming in the Bedford Basin. We had an area we called the Southwestern, and that was baseball, and then they played the horseshoes in the summertime, and sports in the summertime, you know, where the children gathered. In the wintertime, it was our ice rink. You know, the boys play hockey, the girls, you know, we go skating and stuff. And then even the hills in Africville, those was our coasting hills.
The greatest loss, you know, I mean, like with the destruction of Africville, the real loss wasn't bricks and mortar. The real loss was community. The real loss was not being able to come out your door and see your cousins and see your neighbors. My grandmother, one of the last ones to leave Africville, and she was living just above Mulroney Park in her own home. And as she was aging, and she developed dementia. And her dementia, in her mind, she was back in Africville, and it was a job, a chore, we had to keep her in, because she would get out the house, and she would walk around and thinking that she was in Africville. One of the worst memories wasn't going to visit grandmother, it was when you had to leave, because she would cry, right? Take me home to Africville, I want to go home. So when the apology was received in 2010 was the day that I stopped hearing my grandmother crying in my ear.
The apology was to the elders of Africville that were dead and gone. That's who really it meant. That's where it meant a lot to them. It means a lot to us that it happened, that they finally recognized what had happened, and they did apologize. As I remember, it was a very tearful day. And I remember when we got the apology, it was all signed. And after all the ceremony was done, some of us took the apology, went to the graveyard, and just showed our people.
Yeah.
Here it is.
Despite, you know, despite all of the pain.
This was for you.
Yeah, despite all of the pain. When you think about it, when people were asked, well, what do you want? There was no hate. There was no hate. It was, we want them to apologize for what they did to us and give us our church. It was that simple. the current climate in Halifax,
when it comes to
race relations,
yeah.
it's a volcano under the surface that hasn't erupted yet.
Yeah.
It's because there's been no change. There's been no substantive change. There's been window dressing. There's been this let's make it look like, but real change has not occurred.
Things are done, but they're done like like undercover, you know what I mean? Like, it's there, only a black person could see it. Maybe it's somebody else, you know, a person of another race. It may not be visible to them, but we know it. You know,
the hair on the back of your neck stands up.
Yeah, you just know. You just know.
You just know it. Canada as a country, you know, white people will find themselves in the minority. They will find themselves as a part of that great mosaic of people that live and celebrate Canada. Toronto, you know, you can feel it a lot more. Vancouver, you can feel it. Montreal, you can feel it. Halifax will feel it because we need people to grow. And we're not born in children. There's more people dying than being born here in this province. So where are we going to get our people from? They got to come into the country, right?
But I always said that our generations, that our children that are coming up now, if there is a Canada, I can see a black prime minister. You know, I can see this, and I mean, right within my you know, our families, we see these young people coming up that are really, you know, they're just grasping on to public relations and, you know, and different getting involved in things, and you can see these children coming up in the political world. So it's not surprising that you're going to see a move in that direction, not only because of black people, of color.
I just pray that as we're moving along here as a country with our neighbor to the south, that you know, Canada needs to stand up for Canada.
I really want to thank Brenda and Irvin for their time, along with the Africville Museum and also W5 for the historic footage of Africville. You can visit our website, yourmorning.ca, to watch any of our interviews and features about this country as we mark this big year in Canada's history. We're going to be right back.